When you look at the drawing for C10, hopefully you're not too overwhelmed. There are a lot of new commands that we're going to be learning, so you will need to take several notes on this drawing. I'm going to go ahead and go into AutoCAD. A protofractional is pulled up. Let's do a save as C10, and we can go ahead and start creating the drawing. The first thing that we're going to do is, instead of doing a rectangle or instead of doing a line, although this could be done by line, is we're going to do POL for polygon. So I'm going to do POL, hit enter, and now the number of sides. I could have in the past, when we do rectangle, I could have done polygon and done 4 sides. So this is just kind of another way to do some of the same commands we've seen earlier. However, this time instead of doing 4 sides, because we're doing a triangle, we want to do 3. And now it's asking for the center of the polygon. We really don't know where the center of the polygon is going to be, but we do or can figure out where the edge is going to be. So I can do E for edge. And then now it's asking for the first endpoint, and this, just like every other drawing, is going to be at 1, 1. Now what I have to figure out is what's going to be the opposite edge. So where my cursor is right here, what is this distance? So if I go and look back, I can see that I'm going to go from this point over, and it's going to be 7. So what I can do is, back in AutoCAD, I can do at, so it's going from the 1, 1, and do 7, 0. Hit enter, and I now have my triangle for the object already created. Once I have this done, if you look back at the drawing, you can see the next thing will be to offset a distance of 3/8. Should be easy enough to do, so I'm going to offset 3/8 of an inch. And I now have the second part of this drawing done. The next thing that I need to do prior to creating anything inside of my drawing is to create this shape right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, just up towards the top part of my drawing, and it really doesn't matter where it's going to be at. I would just make sure that I don't place it too far on the outside of the drawing, because we want it to fit inside the title block, and we want to make sure that we also do not place it too close to the drawing where it interferes. So I'm going to go ahead and make this bottom line 3/4. I can go ahead and do, and this is like just our typical drawings. I was just doing L enter. I'll zoom in a little bit so you guys can see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to do 1/2, and then I can do 3/8. Now I do want to kind of point out, if I am creating this drawing, if I don't know how far this distance is going to be, we have polar tracking and we have object snap tracking that actually will allow us to track it. So if you didn't just see what I did, I don't know this distance, but I do know that I want it to stop really where this point is. So if I go down and hover, I'm not clicking, hover where this endpoint is, I can pull up my cursor. If it doesn't work automatically, just try it again. And now once I pull up my cursor, you can see it's actually snapping to where this edge is going to be. And it made life really easy, because now I have my shape without having to do any of my math. The next thing that I want to do is go ahead and figure out really how to get my shape here inside of the drawing really 6 different times. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line up. It really doesn't matter how far, just a vertical line up, because I'm going to be offsetting this line over. If you look at the drawing right here, I know that I want the edge of the drawing to be 1 7/8 over and the bottom part to be 3/8 up. So I'm going to go ahead and do those steps. So I'm going to offset. I'm going to do 1 7/8. And again, this offset is going to be showing where my object is going to start inside of the drawing. So I did 1 7/8 over, and now I want to offset this up 3/8. Just like when we do rectangle, we have to explode, so that way it wouldn't offset the entire shape. So I do X enter, and then I can offset 3/8 of an inch up. Once I have that, here is another new command that you guys are going to learn today, and it's copy. So I don't want to move this drawing. I want to leave it here because I need to leave this for dimensioning, but I do want to go ahead and copy it. So if I select the entire shape and do CO for copy, I can hit enter, and now it's also let you guys can see that. It's asking for a base point, and since I want this point to be right here, it would be really smart to select this as my base point. So when I copy it, I can move it, hit escape, and it's exactly where I need it to be. Once I have that done, I can go ahead and select these 3 lines and delete. And some of you may think, okay, would it be a lot faster just to go ahead and offset where the other lines are, and then to go ahead and copy and place that there. But I want to show you guys another new command, and this command will save you a lot of time in the future once you learn how to use it. I'm going to do AR for array. If you do ARR, I'll show you because some of you guys will do this. Nothing's going to happen, but you're going to see that you have a red dot now. If you ever accidentally start recording, because that's what it's doing, although this really means nothing, you see this red dot. If you go to the Manage tab, you can hit stop and just hit OK or cancel out of it. And then you will be done recording. We go back to the Home tab now and do the correct command alias, which is just AR. It's now asking me to select the object, so I'm going to go ahead and draw a box and just select the objects that I want to array. Once I've selected this object, I can hit enter. It's going to ask me if I want to do rectangular, path, or polar. And because I'm actually going to create this pattern that's in columns and rows, I want to do rectangular. As soon as I hit rectangular, you can see it actually made, it's almost like it copied and have now several of the same shape over and over and over. And if you look at the top, it's actually broken up into rows and columns, and it's got a set space between as well. So what's really important now is to see, okay, what's incorrect between this shape that I've got going on in pattern now and the shape in here. And so you can see obviously that I've got 1, 2, 3 really columns and 1, 2, 3 rows. So that'd be the first thing I want to change. I want to go ahead and change this now to 3. And if I select anywhere in a different box, it's going to automatically go ahead and change. And now I just have 3 columns and 3 rows. The next thing that we want to look is the space between our columns and the space between our rows. So if I go back, I can actually see, okay, here would be a column, here's a column, and here's a column. So my space from here to here is going to be 1 1/8. So my space between my columns is 1 1/8. Now if I look from row to row to row, it's going to be 1 inch. So you can see here's 1 inch, from here to here is 2 inches. So I can go back into AutoCAD, and this should be 1 1/8. And this needs to be set now to 1. Once I've changed this, I've now created the array that I want to. I can go ahead and click Close Array. Please don't do that prior to, but if you do, you can always double click, and then you can edit either in this pop-up box or here as well. So if you do mess up, have to go back and fix things, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and now close out of this. And my array is correct. So the next thing I can do, because I do want to modify the number of items I have, is select my array. And in order to be able to delete any aspect of it, I've got to explode. So I'm going to go ahead and explode, and I can go back and say, okay, I need this middle one gone and these 2 gone as well. So I can, and I always suggest drawing using the blue box, because if I do green, I'll show you if I do green, it would select every aspect of whatever the box touches. So if I just do a blue box here, a blue box here, and same thing here, I can now delete, and I have really the shape pretty much done. I just have to now add my dimension. I paused the video to add dimensions, and this is just a few of the dimensions to be able to show you guys a few things. So I know that you can very easily add linear dimensions. I want to make sure that you still remember how to move text out of the dimensions. So right now, I already moved the 3/8 inside of the extension lines, but now I want to go ahead and move the 1/2 in. So if I just click on the dimension itself in the actual text, the blue box that appears, I can just click and drag and move inside. Now the next thing that we're going to be doing is adding our text. So make sure that it's either set to text or dimension, really either one will do the same thing. And we're going to type in the command alias for text, which is text. We've done text before with our title block, so hopefully this is not going to be anything really brand new. It's just a little refresher. I'm going to hit enter. Now this is going to be a little bit different than when we did our title block. When we did our title block, we had coordinates to put in. Let's go ahead and just make our text, though we really want to kind of line it up with the rest of our drawing that we're going to be adding the text to. So I can click here. I've got to make sure that my text height is 1/8. A lot of yours will probably pop up with saying 1/4. So make sure it's set to 1/8. The rotation angle should be 0. And then make sure in all caps you type detail A. You hit enter twice, and it should be lined up perfectly, and it should just have now your text in green. If for whatever reason you accidentally clicked the wrong place, and maybe you started your text here, it's very easy to click on the blue. Just click on really the detail A, the text, and then click on the blue box, and then adjust it to where you need it to go. And then you now have this part of the drawing completely done. We now have to focus on the larger aspect of the drawing. Now since we've labeled this as detail A, we need to go ahead and somewhere on our drawing notate that these are actually detail A, and that in order to figure out the dimensions for it, you would need to look at that part of the drawing. So in order to do this, I'm going to have to add a leader. And we've only ever added leaders in the past on our drawings for our circles and arcs. Instead of now giving a radius or dimension, we're going to be able to add the text that says C detail A. So I'm going to select in the Annotate tab, Multi-Leader. And I'm going to use this shape right here versus these two down here because I already have the dimensions and it's a little bit cluttered on this part of the drawing. So if I just select somewhere inside of this shape, what I can do is if I hover where the arrow is for my dimension line on this dimension, I can actually pull this leader out and it's going to snap really where that 3/8 is. Now I do need to make sure that this is at a 45-degree angle. I'm not mandating that it's like 100% perfect. Just please make sure that it is at as much of a 45-degree angle as you can make it. Once I feel like this is good, I can snap and then or click and go ahead and type in C detail A. If I just click off of this, it's now going to go ahead and allow this to become a permanent part of my drawing. I do have several more dimensions that I need to add. I am going to go ahead and focus on adding one more that may be a little bit tricky for you guys to add on your own. So I have to create now an aligned dimension for this 3/8. So I'm going to go ahead and select in my dimension drop down aligned. And what I can do is go ahead and select a place for where my dimensions can be added. Now I have snap off because it just kind of seems to work better when I do align dimensioning by turning that off by hitting F9. And what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead, and it really doesn't matter 100% really where this dimension is going to go, but I'm going to go ahead and place it kind of towards the top so it's a little bit more out of the way. And I'm going to click. And once I click, if I just pull my cursor over, you can see it's giving me a little perpendicular symbol and it's actually saying perpendicular as well. That's because for my O-snap settings, I have perpendicular selected. So I'm going to go ahead and click, and then I can click again, and I now have this 3/8 dimension added, and it works perfectly. If when you try to do this, this does not work as well as expected, I'll kind of show you how it might actually work if you don't have perpendicular. If I try to select like an endpoint and try to select somewhere else, it's not going to allow me to do my 3/8. All you have to do is go down here with your O-snap settings and turn on perpendicular, and then click off, and then you will have no issues adding this 3/8. There are additional dimensions that you need to add, so make sure that you do that prior to inserting your title block and uploading to Schoology.